Welcome back to the First Team. I'm Joe DeLeone. With me is my co-host, NFL draft analyst for A to Z Sports, Ryan Roberts. Today, we're doing a very specific deep dive on film. We watched the Maryland versus USC game, and we're going to talk specifically about this Maryland team and more in particular, this Maryland offense. These receivers, there's a couple of guys that we mentioned in the preseason that could be NFL players, that could be super productive. We're going to get to that. Ryan, I got to ask you this, though. What the hell is Maryland's offense? I had watched some games this year, and I kind of understood what they were. And I watched them against Northwestern. I knew that they were bad, but they ran the ball so infrequently. Every play was a passing play. Did they just get their offensive line's also not that bad? Like it's fine. Like there's some decent players on that O-line that were getting good protection. What the hell did I watch?
I think Billy Edwards threw like 50-something passes in this game, right? It had to be in the 50s,
yeah.
I think. Like it was something wild.
A terrible game plan. They still won.
It's a offense called Mike Loxley, Joe. I don't know what else to say other than that. I mean, this is like the weird thing about coaching sometimes is that like I agree with you that it's very imbalanced and I don't think it's sustainable. But also, if I had all those wide receivers, I'd probably do the same thing a lot of the time. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a reason why they got clapped by Northwestern because an actual more physical team beat up on them. But yeah, no, I mean, I get the.
Well, I would say this too. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the running back. I'm sure Roman Henby, who had a nice flash plays in this game, but they also do a lot of like swing screens to him and stuff. And I know like. You know, people said the extension of the run game and the extension of the pass game and like that type of stuff. And I know that that's a little bit of a cliche thing, but like it basically is a toss if we're being honest with ourselves, right? Like I wouldn't really classify that as a true pass play, but I understand your point of reference and I understand your perspective, but I get it partly. I think it's flawed, but I get it a little bit. I get it a little bit.
Well, it helped them win this game. And we saw some pretty big plays from these receivers. There's three, actually, that I think that we should talk about. The first two obvious ones, though, are Felton and Kaden Prather. To start with Prather, you were super high on him in the preseason. Big-bodied athlete that is very flexible, moves in and out of his breaks pretty well. He had a couple bad drops. There was one early on in the game that kind of caught my attention. I was like, that's not great. You got to come down with that if you're supposed to be this bigger-bodied possession type of receiver. But what have you seen from him just in general, and what did you like from him in this game?
I mean, I had a second round grade on him in the preseason, and I was kind of hyping him up as like I think this could be a first rounder if he takes a step. But he didn't really take a step so far, right? Like he's been good, but Felton has been the more productive receiver so far this season. TAI, I would think it's Tay. I guess I could be wrong.
I hate trying to play this game of guessing.
You know why? Because I'm like second guessing myself. I remember like Ty Streets was TAI as well, so it's probably Ty. I'll say Ty Felton just so we can get past this hurdle. Or Joe, we can get past this hurdle now.
Okay.
So I thought he was going to take a massive ascension. He's been good so far, but he hasn't done any like eye popping games until this one, where he had 9 catches and over 100 yards, and he was uncoverable. I mean, Joe, and honestly, 9 for 111, I think is what he finished with in this game. It could have been a lot more, dude. I don't know if you saw it. It was like within the first 5 or 10 plays, he smoked a dude on a deep post, smoked him. But unfortunately, there was pressure, and Billy Edwards wasn't able to, maintain his eyes downfield because he had to avoid the rush. And then there was another play later in the game where he did a little bit of a stutter and go at the top of his route and just ran by the corner. I mean, we're talking about 2 potential like 75-yard touchdowns apiece if you just see him. I'm not talking about like contested catches. I'm talking about like he is 5+ yards open downfield, and he is going to run under it, and he is going to smoke dudes. And there were a couple nice route running instances that I think that he should have got the ball as well, and he didn't. But ultimately, verified 6'4", 211 pounds, a lot of top 100 grades in the preseason by the NFL, third-round grades thrown out there a ton. This kid's a height, weight, speed freak. Like, this is the dude. And the thing I love about him, we'd love to hear your perspective on it, because he can do all the vertically oriented things. He can run by you, he can run posts, he can run goes, stutter and goes, pumps and goes, like all that type of stuff, right? Like, he's a very vertically oriented receiver. But there were several plays, I think, for being a 6'4" kid, This kid has really good hip sync. Like there is
Mm.
upside as a route runner here, man. There was one play I highlighted it on Twitter because I'm like, he was doing this in this game, just toying with these dudes, even on reps where he didn't get the football, where he had set him up for like an outside type of release, and then he just kind of hip syncs, fakes, and then come backs inside where he's making corners fall in this game. He's making corners go off balance. I think this kid has upside as a route runner as well. So height, weight, speed with route running upside, I'm always going to be in on that type of dude, man. I want him to be more dominant on a week-to-week basis, but he was certainly dominant in this football game.
Yeah, the production's been kind of weird why he hasn't taken over more games, and we're going to get to Ty Felton in a second, who has, it's a pain when these sites don't list.
I think it's time.
I'm not trying to hyperfixate on it, but
myself, I think it's time.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Well, it's nothing against you. It's just like
I'm an idiot.
Some of the sites put like an actual like pronunciation on there, and I always feel bad when we say a kid's name wrong. But with Kaden Prather, though, you would think that there would be more production with the way that he's built, and we're talking about his profile, and that there was this capability for him to like really explode. I feel like we're probably just going to get more of these types of games where it's going to be in and out, couple of 100-yard games. He's probably not going to go on some crazy run to finish the year, and of course, I'm probably jinxing it, and he will. But what you just mentioned there was one thing that got me super excited in the preseason was the hips, was that ability to get in and out of his breaks. The flexibility for a player as long as he is, typically with these tall receivers, they're tight. They're super tight, not just in their hips, but they're also just not very fluid when they try to transition. And that's what we saw here. They're not just using him like Brian Thomas Jr. just saying like, hey, we're going to throw it over the top. We're just going to take the top off. We're going to run these vertical routes. There was a lot of short to intermediate stuff that he was open on. There were a lot of comebacks and just like really short hitches that he was running, that he was open, that he was creating quick separation with a plant and come back to the football. That's what's going to put himself into the equation here in this draft class as one of the top receivers when there's really not many good options. I mean, Tyrone McMillan keeps getting shut down every time he plays a decent defense. And then other guys like Luther Burden haven't really exploded to the degree that we were expecting. The production hasn't been there. We've been talking about true freshmen because it's been so sparse. So somebody like Kaden Prather can certainly continue to build momentum.
I think he can. I think he has just that athletic upside that gets you super excited. And like he's been productive this year, Joe, but it just hasn't been to what Felton's been doing, obviously, right? Like, I mean, he has an 8 for 81. He's got a 5 for 66 and a touchdown, 6 for 57 and a touchdown, 6 for 60, 4 receptions. Like he's had at least 4 receptions in every single game. And outside of one game, he's had at least 5 receptions in each game. So like he's been productive. And actually funny one, I don't know if you noticed this, just kind of working through his production stuff. He actually has 1 more reception already this year in 7 games than he had all of last year. The problem is that I don't think they're taking as many chances with him. Again, dude, like there was a post, there was a stutter and go where he's wide open in this game. And the one I don't fall Billy Edwards for because he was getting pressured, but the other one, it's like, bro, just let it go. He's a free. Because here's the thing. Does he really? I mean, there was a contested catch in this game off of the stutter and go where he was able to elevate more often than not. This kid at 6'4", 211 is at least going to be able to win those types of contested catch situations. But if you let it go and let him run under it, I mean, I think what do you think his 40 is? I'm going to say at 6'4", 211, 4.47, 4.48. I mean, like maybe 4.5 flat. I don't know, but he's close.
Yeah, I'd lean more 4.5. He's kind of got that Keon Coleman athleticism.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Keon didn't run about 40 for his size. We got to remember how big this dude is.
He ran 4.61. He ran 4.61. Keon is not a
maybe he's a little faster than Keon.
I'm telling you, this kid can run. I'm guarantee it's 4.5 flats, but it might be 4.48, 4.47. Like I would not be shocked if this was a high 4.4 kid. I think this kid can glide.
So Felton's been the more productive of these two players. He also had a very quality game. Sees a lot of targets. He's a little bit more compact, 6'2". I believe was listed like around 200 pounds. Good frame. What did you see from him in this game? And I know that he's been a super productive player to this point. Are you seeing that he's catching up to Prather at all, or do you think that it's still where we were in the preseason?
I think some people will like him more than Prather because the style is completely different. This kid is much more. This kid's going to run 4.37 or something, 4.38. Like this kid can run. He's loose. He's nimble. He's got some decent stuff after the catch. But like and I think we have a verified on him, Joe. I'm pretty sure he is. Yes, he is 6 foot and 7/8, so a hair under 6'1", and he's 181 pounds. He's slight, dude. Like he's slight, and he's not going to be a guy that's going to consistently win catch point balls. He's not going to be a guy that's going to work through contact all the time. Like that's just not going to be his game overall. But he is smooth as heck. Like this is a traditional Z receiver, in my opinion, that can run routes, that can win some down the field, and is a little bit underrated after the catch. So I'm not going to be as high on him as what I am on Prather, but I think some NFL teams will be if that's the style that they're looking for, more the route runner separator type of player.
I had his weight wrong, but the route running there is what you just talked about. He's a lot more quick footed than Prather. He's pretty shifty. He's able to create for himself. I know that we spent a lot of time on Prather, but like I can't help but bring up Octavian Smith Jr. because he had a very, very nice catch where he scored a touchdown. And I almost was like, I kept replaying it. I'm like, did he catch this? Did he come down with this? The play that I'm talking about in the red zone where he releases and it's a delayed release where he's coming off the ball and he's going slow. And then he just picks up speed so quickly. And he has a very tight window where he comes back to the football. He high points it over a defensive back and he comes down with it. I don't know about you, man. I didn't know who this kid was before I watched that play, and I'm pretty impressed. I think I might be more impressed by him than I have been any of these other guys by just that singular play and then some of the other touches that he got.
Yeah, he was interesting because Prather plays left side all the time, or he plays to the boundary most of the time, right? He's a bigger body kid, and then you have obviously Felton, who's playing to the field. He's more of the separator. But then they had number 5 that I had no idea who he was. He's a redshirt junior who was playing in the slot, and like they were just getting him quick outs, quick separating stuff, and he was working some nice stuff after the catch. So I mean, honestly, this is the fun part about scouting because I had no idea who number 5 was. I was watching 1, I'm watching 10, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, 5 just kind of keeps accumulating catches, right? Like he's a quick, easy separator out of the slot. So definitely a kid to keep an eye on because I think that what we're going to have happen this offseason, Joe, is that everyone obviously is just going to keep talking about Prather and Felton for obvious reasons. But then we're going to start in the offseason. I would be shocked if this kid, the 2025 kid, we're going to start talking about number 5. We're going to start talking about number 5 and seeing his name kind of pop up this offseason as the next guy at Maryland potentially.
Yeah, his production has not really stood out that much this year for Maryland because again, we've spent so much time talking about Felton, who has emerged where he's just been getting open and he's not very big. The way that he came down with that contested catch, he's listed at 176, which is again impressive that he had the body control and the strength to make that catch. This year, he's only got 192 yards. This was his biggest game until this point. And again, what you're talking about, it makes me wonder, is this an opportunity for him to start seeing more touches? And I would hope that the coaching staff's smart enough to realize, hey, we don't just have 2 really good future NFL guys. We've got a third. I agree with you, though, on the final point that you had, which was this is not somebody who should declare in 2025. Yeah. He should be a 2026 declaree because he still has work to do. This is the first time that he saw more than over 5 catches in a game. The most he had was 4 against UVA. So going to need to be a little bit patient with his development if it comes along.
Well, and I want to definitely talk about Roman Hemby in a second, the running back, because he did some nice stuff, especially in the passing game in this one. But I would argue this too, Joe. Not only do you have Smith now, Octavian Smith Jr. on top of Felton and Prather, but I don't know if he flashed for you at all, but Dylan Wade, the tight end, number 0.
I was just about to bring him up. Yeah.
Okay. So 6'4", 235, 240 pounds, I think is what he's listed at, but he is a sophomore out of Florida. He went to Jones High School in Florida. 17 receptions on the year, 226 yards, and 2 touchdowns, which is pretty good when you consider how many mouths that he's sharing as a tight ends, right? In the passing game. Just an smooth kid. This looks smooth. Look explosive. Look like he got up the top gear really well. He doesn't play in line at all. Like he's in that spread offense. So like he's playing in the slot a ton, but like very interesting body type and in middle of the field separator for a tight end as only a true sophomore. Just an interesting kid to keep an eye on.
Roman Hemby is a bit of a weird evaluation because of what we talked about,
Somewhere
where
on the ball.
they don't really give him any carries between the tackles. They give him plenty of, you described it as a pitch, but they're these throws to the sideline, and it's like, hey,
Swing
let's see if
screen.
you can,
Just
yeah,
like swing screens. Yeah, that's all.
let's see if you can make a play. He's got a pretty big frame, listed at 6', 208. What caught your attention with him? I mean, I look like he had pretty good vision in space. I just don't know how I can really make a decision on him, knowing that
Mhm.
they're barely giving him any handoffs.
I think that he's a very talented athlete that is hindered based upon the offense that he plays in. Because I don't think that this is a running back centric offense. I think that they are tailoring it to him because he's one of their better athletes. I mean, 6', 208, gets up to top speed well. I don't think he necessarily has long speed, but I think he's explosive in short areas and he's physical, dude. Like he finished runs in this football game or swing screens in this football game. Like he did a lot of stuff. On the year, he's run for in 7 games, 372 yards and 4 touchdowns, 4.8 yards a carry. But like again, I just don't think that they feature him in that capacity. But he's caught 22 passes so far this year, and he had 38 receptions the previous. So this kid as a redshirt junior is someone to keep an eye on for the future. Not a 2025 kid, a 2026, but like catches the
As a
ball
redshirt
well.
junior, you don't think he would declare?
I mean, it's possible, but like in this running back class, I think that would be
Yeah,
kind
it's
of.
good.
I
That's a
think
good
that would be
point.
kind of ill-advised. Like this is more of a, yeah, he's going to be a year older, and you never want the age bracket when you're talking about a running back. But like overall, if he could go back and have a good year, or he can grad transfer somewhere else or whatever, I think that there's more meat on the bone for this kid. I think he has more upside than what this offense kind of accentuates for him or showcases for him.
I had one offensive lineman that caught my attention, but not to a degree where I'm saying first round pick. But the frame for Andre Roy Jr. I thought
Okay.
was great, and he went out for a period of time. He started the game, and I don't know what his injury was and what happened, why he missed like a series and a half. He looked like he was starting to hobble a little bit after that series, but the beginning of the game, super long arms, muscular build. I thought that he moved pretty well, and he was doing a pretty good job in pass protection. His hands were pretty good. I don't know what to do with him. Probably another guy that's a few years down the line if he
Aren't you a
sticks around at this
sophomore, right?
Maryland.
Yeah,
He is a red shirt
sophomore, right?
sophomore, but I would anticipate that a lot of these linemen aren't declaring early, that he's probably not going to be an early declare guy. But he was
Yeah.
one amongst a group of offensive linemen that are a little bit of, who's who, that he
Yes.
had a pretty decent game.
So I would also add in Alan Heron, number 71, because Joe,
Yep.
he's not there, bro. Like he's not. He's a true junior transfer. So he has another year of eligibility, and he would be very short-sighted to not use that extra year of eligibility. But at 6'5", 223,
He looked
pretty
more
nice
like a
athlete,
guard.
dude.
He looked more
Yeah.
like a guard.
He's squatty, but like he moves well, and I think his length is pretty nice from the flashes that I saw in film. So he interesting one. I don't know if you heard his backstory, Joe, but he went to Division II Shorter. Shorter is the name of the university. Okay, All American. He was one of the big portal kids this offseason for a Division II kid transferring up. He was actually supposed to go to Penn State at first and then flipped his commitment to Maryland. So Shorter was supposed to go to Penn State, but now he's down to Maryland, and Alan Heron is now the starting right tackle for Maryland. So I watched one game of him early on in the year, and there was about 10, 15 reps that got me super juiced. Like, oh, okay. But then there's 10 or 15 reps that are like, yeah, he's not that right now. Like he's not there. Another year, hopefully a good off season, a full off season, not having to deal with the portal and all that type of stuff, a full spring practice slate, all of that. I think that this kid could be a kid in 2026 that at least we're talking about as at least draftable, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Anyone else you want to get to before we get out of here?
Nah, not on the
Billy
offense.
Edwards, not a guy.
Some people like him, man.
I know our friend Corey Kinnan likes him.
Corey loves him. I thought that he was a tough kid. And there were a couple spots in the middle of the field where he kind of stepped up and threw the football because I don't know about you, but like early on in the game, I was kind of questioning what type of arm strength he had. But then there were like 2 throws where he was able to step up into the pocket and throw it down the middle. I was like, oh, okay, this might be a little bit more juice there than I originally anticipated. So I have heard some things about him that he could be a hot commodity if he chooses to leave Maryland in the offseason, but that's as far as I'll leave that conversation for now.
I swear to God. All right, at Joe DeLeone, at Rise and Draft, at First Team Pod. We're going to be back later on this week. We're going to be talking about the running back class, guys that have stood out and that have been improvers so far this year. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Leave us a comment below, and we'll talk to you folks later.